was born in South London, Greenwich. Started to get into fraud when I was around 13. We started off just going door to door with sponsorship forms and just knocking on people's doors, photocopying them in on the big old photocopying machines. Knock on people's door and ask for £1 to sponsor us for a sponsored run. The following week it'd be a sponsored swim, and it just took off from there. By the time I was 16, I had my own credit card making machine and credit card making facilities, and I was just a 16-year-old kid with loads of money and loads of know-how in fraud. I always tried to get away from that criminal life. I knew that I could go right into it, and I knew more than a lot of people, and so I always tried to have a job. But by then getting a job, I ended up going into retail, which then taught me other things, and thought, oh my God, I ended up working for a huge electrical retailer, and that taught me all about finance.
I've been in fraud and payments and KYC for a long time now. I've always thought it's really important for people that are trying to prevent fraud to really get inside the mind of the fraudsters, to understand the modus operandi of the fraudster. So I've previously been into prisons to interview convicted fraudsters and to find out exactly what how they do it and why they do it and who they do it with. So I've previously worked with a few different fraudsters, and working with Tony was, he's the latest guy for me so I can sort of pick his brain, so I can then pass on that advice to fraud managers so they can prevent more Tonys coming to their site. It's a very polarising piece of work to do. Some people resent seeing guys like Tony, who previously ran a life of crime, benefiting now from their previous activities. So some people don't like it. My argument is it's better to understand the enemy than it is to not to, and then at least when the people go back to their jobs, they've got an idea about how the fraudsters do things, and it also validates their opinions, and it helps them to arrange their defences against the fraudsters that little bit better. So I think it's more important to have the information than to keep it locked away and away from public scrutiny.
We was Robin Hoods. We fed the neighbourhood. We looked after our own, and we gave them things that they never thought they could have. For us, there was nothing nicer than actually giving someone something that they never thought they could have. And sometimes when you do that, morally it makes you feel like maybe I'm making up for some of the bad stuff that I've done. I wasn't ever greedy. I was never really greedy. I had too many people around me to be greedy, and I would be lavish and spend whatever we got. I would spend on my team and my family and whoever I could, just trying to buy happiness, I suppose. Of course there has to be internal help, and there will always be internal help. People, like your question earlier, some people are greedy, and people are not just happy with the wages that they may get on a monthly basis. And so those people are the people that fraudsters and people target. Sometimes they're the people who work inside. The people that work inside are the people that instigate the actual fraud themselves, because they know the inside of it and say to someone like me, look mate, if you do that, that and that, you can get that, just cut me in. And they're away from the crime themselves. Someone like me comes along and does it, and everyone's a winner.
In the days before the internet, when transactions were mainly face-to-face, the way you'd assert your identity is to go to a branch, go and see somebody, give them your identity documentation, they'd look at that, they'd look up at you, look down your identity documentation, and that was the way that you had proved you are who you say they are. So that process hasn't been possible up until now, but now we've developed a range of what we call computer vision services, so we can actually enable companies to see their customers and to see their customers' identity documents during the transaction, using the webcam on their computer or the camera on their mobile device. And we scan these identity documents, we validate them, we look at all the security features, we make sure it's a real legitimate identity card, driving license or passport. Then the final step is to actually do a facial comparison, a facial match, to say, is this face in the camera behind the transaction the same as the face on the identity documents? And we give a percentage confidence rating back to our merchants, back to our clients. They can then decide to whether to accept or reject the transaction. And the added benefit there is that it's a fantastic deterrent. In the same way that a criminal wouldn't want to leave their fingerprints at the scene of a crime, a fraudster isn't going to want to leave their face in the camera.